All right, so I got a lot of questions from users of our drum samples. They ask, does this work with Waves InTrigger? Will you make some for Waves InTrigger, etc.? To answer that quite quickly, we can of course use the one-shots, which are wave files inside InTrigger, but that will not give you the round robins, the microphone options, the tuning options, and all the good stuff that you can do with the TCI version inside Trigger 2. I notice a lot of people are gravitating towards InTrigger because probably it's easy to use, it looks amazing, and all that stuff. As I do agree to that to some extent, I will also say this. This is not a replacer for Trigger 2. That's my bottom line anyways. I haven't used much time with this yet, but I figured out the ballpark of what's going on here. And it tends to solve a lot of problems which are really not our problem, and it tends to not solve the real problems. I think that still today you do need to do some manual edits in order to get stuff to sound like it should. Although this is smarter than a regular threshold trigger, so to speak, it still lacks the human touch. And what I mean by that is that of course, it solves like basic slow beats really good, but it doesn't solve the hard stuff. So let's take this part for example. This is a pretty normal kind of tom beat that often happens in heavy rock music. You can hear that there are some toms, some hard hits on the snare, and there are some ghost notes. If I do use InTrigger and start to learn, it can sort out the toms and give me the hard snares, but right now the ghost notes on the snare are pretty much gone. You can take down the target to let some of them come through. But what it also does, it lets some of the toms through, which it should not do. So that kind of put me back to square one, where I do need to go in manually maybe and remove some stuff. And yes, I know that you can go in here and select some of them and make them disappear. But why is that faster and better than looking at the timeline and actually clipping out the ones you don't want to fire? For me, using this to remove hits, it's not working. It's like, okay, where am I? Where's that part? Where's that hit? If you do it in here, you can see it visually like super easy if there are cuts here, and it's so fast to do. And here you can of course play it slower to kind of identify what's going on. So yeah, in this particular case, it did not solve my real problem. It's still pretty random. Okay, so that's one thing. Let's move forward here and look at like the basic beat where it's quite easy to catch what's going on and not that much noise going on at the same time. So here we are. So that's pretty good. But then again, if I do something like a gate, it does the same thing because this is not hard to replace. So let's talk about the functions inside here. Let's do the basic stuff. Okay, so now I dropped in a hard hit from the snare. And the humanization is active. If I turn it off, and turn off the gate, one thing you need to know is that you need to set this from play to launch. And then you try to humanize it, and that will be okay because this is a slow snare going on. So it randomizes the envelope and it randomizes the pitch, but not that much. It should maybe do more of the pitch variations in order to get it better when it's faster. And you have the follower to follow the dynamics. Nothing new there, but the random is what kind of gave me believing in this. I don't think the randomization here is what I would have done personally to get stuff working, especially for the fast and special stuff. But for like ordinary slow stuff, the randomization may be okay, or you don't even need it because it's the hits are so far apart. So let's try here and find something where it's a lot more busy. And this sounds just awful. Might be good enough to blend, but if you want to totally replace, this is useless. Let's turn off the humanize. I kind of like that better. At least it's more what I expect to hear. I can try to do the randomization full on. Okay, so there it does a lot more to the pitch, which is cool, but it also does a lot more to like everything else, which I would not like it to do. What I would like to see here is a randomization split up into pitch variation and envelope variation and probably some other parameters. But then again, you get either or. Let's put it to 50 and listen. Okay, so the pitch variation isn't that bad. This could happen with an inconsistent drummer, although if I had an inconsistent drummer, I would rather replace it to have control over the inconsistency. So that doesn't cut it for me, at least. Let's take it down here to maybe around 30. Okay, let's listen to the source. Okay, this is quite interesting because the pitch drift in the source recording is also quite messy. Badly tuned snare, or maybe even inconsistency of where the drummer hits on the snare, which may be natural in a part like this, where it's probably doing some paradiddles, changing the hands, swapping the hands and stuff like that. But then again, I'm not sure if InTrigger tries to mimic the inconsistency in the pitch, or if it's just randomly does it, which it says it does. I could probably record it and take them side by side, but I'm not going to spend time on that now. But anyways, that's cool. That's cool and all, but I mean, you don't have control over the randomization, which kind of doesn't help you. You should have control over it. So manually doing stuff is, in my opinion, the better way. Is a slower way. You need more knowledge and you need more training. But then again, you will have more control. And if the client comes to you after you've done some productions and says, I want to change this or I want to change that, you know how to reverse engineer it and change just what the client is asking and not randomizing something else, which gives him a totally new outcome, which gives him the reason to give you new notes on the randomization. So random is not control. Random is random. If you're out looking for random, this is for you. But for me and my 20 plus years of recording, producing, this is not cutting it. Then again, I'm not bashing Waves here, but this could be done better. Okay, so let's drag in some more samples here. So these are the hard hits. Let's take some more of these in. Let's take 3 more, which it can handle. And then I put this to sequence. No, I put it to random. And I turn off the humanization. Okay, this is also interesting. What it does here, it does random, but it does not do random non-repeat. In order to get it to non-repeat, you need to put it into sequence. But then again, for a fast double kick drum, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You get the same exact sequence. So here they should have done like random, non-repeat, round robin. And of course, I can try to give these separate layers as one for the hard, one for the medium, etc. Let's try and do that. Let's just remove all of these. So let's take these layers here, drag them in. So I have 4 layers and they are these. I know 4 is the hardest one and it's 96 to 127 velocity. 3 is softer, it's up to 95, correct? Okay, so the order here will automatically remap the velocity. That's cool, that's good. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so this is cool. Now I have 4 layers. This could, of course, be useful as it's multi-velocity, but it's still not round robin. And as far as I know, it may be possible. I could have another page here, which gives me the second layer of round robins, but it doesn't look like it can do that. So then again, if you do the multi-velocity and do the random humanization and the follower, starting to sound good. But then again, where's the overhead mics? Where's the bottom mic? Where's the room mics and all that stuff? So yeah, it's a trigger for sure. It has cool options for sure. Will it replace Trigger 2? Hell no. For some people and some genres and some situation, yes, it can. But in most of my work, where it's dynamics and bleed and fast-paced music, no, I'm not gonna do InTrigger ever as a replacement. But as far as slow music goes, not that many variations, of course I could use it. But then again, there's a ton of other options for it. However, you can of course go into the Cosmos here, which is cool. Love that. So there's a lot of cool stuff, but do it solve my problem? No. Does it replace Trigger 2? No, it does not. Okay, so here's a faster part. Oh my God. So, okay, so here's the real deal. Let's listen to this drum fill or snare roll. That's not cutting it at all. Even if I do the randomization higher here on the random slider, it's better, but it's unnatural. That kind of pitch drift. And then, do I need to automate this then? Can I even automate it? Let's see. Okay, so I can enable automation for the random switch, but then we're into manual editing again. And would I prefer automation parameter or would I do actual work on the track? And I have a video out there showing how to create multiple lanes for snare where you put the different hits and use several instances of trigger. Yes, it's not automatic, but it's really powerful and you can have full control. And if the clients want some revisions or maybe they feel like, well, the weak hits are too weak, okay, turn up the slider. No, they're not sounding low, but they are weak. Okay, change the velocity curve then. Give the weaker hits a harder hit, but at a lower volume. So it will give you more control, but you will need to put in the hours to learn this. So a long, weird video of me sharing my thoughts and kind of answering some questions regarding if I would like to make stuff for InTrigger. And for now, the answer to that is no, I'm not going to spend time on it. But InTrigger may or may not be upgraded in the future. And I see a lot of improvement for this type of trigger. But I don't think you will ever see the day where you don't have to do any manual work, sound replacing, complex drum parts. I may be wrong. AI is on the rise and that's really, really cool. But no, I don't think we will see that day. Thank you for watching and hopefully you took something out of this video. Maybe it led you into buying InTrigger. Maybe it led you into looking closer into Trigger 2. So yeah, thank you. Bye.